discover who you
Dawaj! Let's go!
are. Trust me,
Sorry.
I should know. But now, I seek something more tangible. Someone I care for, trapped within the Atlas,
Dobra, trochę za głośno.
reliving memories
Zaba.
made real, made grotesque, made foul.
Mamy izbak bez jaj.
These
Ile
manifestations
będzie tych bossów?
must be destroyed. Their threads must be eradicated. I must have answers. We must find the originator. We must save
O kurde.
my sister.
Cześć, Dziarka.
Crafting mechanik nowa. O Boże, nie! Runecraft. Betrayal rework, dobrze! Ale kurwa gest poszedł. O kurwa. A mam ciary. Co to było za gówno z PO2, kurwa, z tymi gemami zasranymi? No nie widziałaś, kurwa, jak...
Widziałaś to? Będziesz miała przydupasów.
Będziesz mieć przydupasów. I oni mieli, kurwa, te gemy z PO2 zasrane.
Dziękuję.
I'm Mark Roberts, game director on Path of Exile.
O, Mark
As you
Roberts.
just saw from the trailer, there's a lot to show you.
Solo duo gaming.
Today, we will take you on a deep dive into the new Path of Exile Secrets of the Atlas in-game update.
Mercenaries.
Then, we'll explore the new Challenge League, the Mercenaries of Trathus. After that, we'll cover the integration of gold into PoE 1 and how we're bringing Settlers of Kalgur into the core
Czemu
game.
settlersy, kurwa, wchodzą do core, a tota
Finally,
nie?
a much awaited upgrade to Betrayal League
Och, ja
and a set of quality of life
pierdolę.
improvements.
Czemu settlers
Zajebasz
core?
bingo.
A jeszcze reklamę mi wpierdolili. Ja mam tutaj setek... Nie mam, kurwa, settlersów core. Czemu nie ten, nie? Jeszcze reklamę mi dali. Ja pierdolę. Czemu dajesz mi, kurwa, settlersy do core? Śmieciu.
Across the Atlas.
To trzeba odświeżyć pod
Zana
ropą?
has returned and appears to be trapped within.
Ja pierdolę.
Partway through the endgame, you will meet Egan, an
Ah, i
intelligent
reklama.
man of
Super.
mysterious heritage. These tears in reality he has discovered are actually threads of memory, distorted and made real by the Atlas. Egan is able to
Dobra,
create a link to these memory threads and
reklamą.
open portals to them. Working with Egan, you must step through and find Zana, or whatever remains of her.
O, to jest jej brat, tak?
Okay, so that's the story background. But how does this expansion actually work? In the Secrets of the Atlas, the pursuit of Zana with
Tell me
Egon
more.
is a new storyline that is introduced in high-tier maps. Upon meeting Egan and discovering the tier, he will then transfer it to your map device and reveal this on your Atlas, a thread of memories. In order to now
Okay.
access each map on the thread, you simply need to
Memorki.
talk to Egan when you're ready, and he'll open the areas in sequence.
Co to za gówno?
These areas can be fully influenced by your Atlas tree, scarabs, fragments, and everything of the sort. As you work
Co to
your
za
way along the
gówno?
thread, you will discover that these maps have manifested dangerous threats, influenced by the memories of Zana herself. Monsters here are imbued with memory
okay.
petals. Defeat them to absorb this power, which can be unleashed as a special ability during combat. Different maps on the thread
Ale
have different
gówno, ja
abilities,
pierdolę.
and these abilities appear on an additional mini skill bar next to your regular skills.
Co to, kurwa, za
For
gówno?
example, Memory of Disbelief will cause all affected monsters to stop dropping equipment items, meaning they can now only drop more valuable items, like currency and maps. Memory of Panic will make all affected monsters revive immediately after death, which means you can get twice as much experience and drops from them. And Memory of Impatience will cause all surrounding enemies to give you their souls, temporarily increasing your power. As you progress further into the thread of memories, the maps can have more than one memory. and thus you can have more than one powerful ability. As you gather memory petals, you can use these powers together. Each skill costs its own amount of memory petals. So using the examples above, you can first use Memory of Impatience to become way more powerful, then use Memory
Ja
of Panic
pierdolę,
to
co
prepare
to
them
za
to revive when they
gówno.
are slain, then use Memory of
Więcej
Disbelief
przycisków do
to
klikania.
cause them
Nawet
to grow
kurwa
better,
nie o to chodzi,
more
ale
valuable
imagine mapować z tym
items. Finally,
kurwa. To
obliterate
tak
them all.
spowolni
No wiem,
mapowanie, że
Memory
to
of Panic
chuj.
will kick in, causing them to revive.
To
No
jest
to co,
bardzo
kurwa?
podobny
Wipe them out
case, co był z
again,
sentinelami, że
allowing you to get all the
zabijałeś moby,
experience
zanim w
and
ogóle te
enhanced
sentinele
drops twice.
wystrzeliły.
There are many
No.
combinations of these powers,
No
so
Prima
you have
Aprilis
to
było 2
carefully
miesiące temu,
consider
bez
how they
jaj.
best work together.
No to co, meta podlurowanie mobów,
That's
nie?
not the only extra layer of content juicing these maps offer. As you defeat the boss of each map along the thread, you are presented with an altar. This altar will apply a modifier to all following maps in the thread, and these will stack as you go. So the deeper you delve into a memory, the more mods you will have. This, combined with the special abilities, will allow for some of the most
Petals,
juice
fine.
maps ever run in Path of Exile. Let's take a
Ale
look at some of the
gówno.
altar mods.
Ale gówno.
You are always presented with two choices and must pick one. This mod, for example, will cause some rare monsters to be possessed by tormented spirits,
Dobra, to jest okej, no.
where this mod makes Kerak modifiers free to craft. Both of these apply to all subsequent maps in the thread. The final map in each thread is a true challenge, with all the altar mods applying to it and guarded by a powerful boss. Each of these bosses are familiar, but dreamlike, drawn from Zana's memories and warped by the
Co
Atlas
oni
into
kurwa
something
za
very
bossa
different
wrzucili?
and terrifying.
Jezu Chryste.
In this map,
To
you will
gówno
fight the
zdefali
pinnacle boss,
katedral.
Cirrus. Fueled by Zana's affectionate memories of him, his enhanced abilities can prove to be a unique challenge.
Jeszcze Sirius
If you
tam
manage to defeat
pierdolili, ja
Cirrus,
pierdolę.
or one of the other warped memory bosses,
Jezu!
they will drop a map fragment,
Co
which
jeszcze,
Egan
kurwa,
can use to
kitałę tam
delve
dajcie.
deeper into the memory tears. With these, you can access a set of 3 new pinnacle bosses. In this arena, the Moment of Reverence, Zana is reliving a memory of her father, Valdo, giving a passionate speech in Oriath. The Atlas distorts this memory of her father as a powerful, influential man and manifests those emotions into a twisted nightmare,
Nie, ja
the
muszę zapalić
incarnation
bez
of dread.
w disbelief.
Another memory
Widzisz to
created
kurwa,
is
co
the
tam się dzieje na tej
incarnation
arenie
of neglect
zasranej?
and the incarnation of fear. Good luck,
Nasrać jeszcze na
exiles.
środku.
No kurwa nasraj jeszcze, bez jaj.
Of course, if you are brave and strong enough to defeat them, each of these new pinnacle bosses have new unique items
O, da
befitting
ci
them.
kurwa Jonika za 1 CS,
Oho.
If you
zajebiście.
slay the incarnation of fear, you might
co
be
my tu
lucky
mamy?
enough to find the Star Caller unique abyssal axe. We're gonna show this one because it's straight up badass. The Starcaller axe is a weapon that can harness the
Dobra,
power
fajne
of
to
the
akurat.
stars themselves.
To akurat
to
fajne,
deal
sorry.
immense
Dobra,
damage.
klik, klik.
To akurat
What makes
śmieszne,
it shine,
podkoka.
however, is that on melee crit, it casts Starfall, a new skill. With the right build, you can carpet entire areas and wipe out screens of enemies
Gramy
as
pod
you
to,
rain
widzowie.
down the elements upon them.
Co czuję, że to będzie w chuj drogie.
Another item you may find, and this one
Proszę.
is my favorite, is the Wine of the Prophet unique flask. It consumes a lot of charges, but every time you use it, you draw a random divination card. This card appears above you and correlates
Co
to
to
a powerful
kurwa
buff.
jest?
If you draw the Escape card, you'll gain increased movement speed. Or maybe you'll draw the Doctor, which will cause you to gain the modifiers of slain rares you kill.
Okej.
Effectively,
To jest
you
ciekawe
can think of
akurat.
this unique as being many other
Mamy
uniques
flaszkę.
all in one. There are many cards to
This is a-
draw, each with varying degrees of power to grant.
Ale bardzo ciekawe, no.
Okay, but let's get back to the Atlas. After defeating all 3 new pinnacle bosses, you'll be able to find new memory-influenced Tier 16 maps. These maps come with the previously mentioned special abilities and monsters infused with memory petals, but can also roll the same modifiers typically found on Tier 17 maps, making them
Okay.
far more rewarding.
Ugh.
With all these new memory maps comes a new item mechanic. Items in these maps can drop with memory strands. and will have a random amount up to 100. This does a few things. When you identify the item, it will increase the tiers of modifiers your item has. Generally speaking, the more memory strands, the better the item will be. On top of this, whenever you're crafting that item using currency orbs to replace or add modifiers, such as alterations, chaos, and so forth,
Forging
it will
potential po
consume
roku
some memory
wraz.
strands to make the
Bez
crafting
jaj.
mods more powerful.
To Infryt
Bez
powiedział.
jaj,
The new
forging
pinnacle
potencjal
bosses
po
also
roku w
drop
Rosji.
new crafting currencies,
Kurwa.
which can be used to manipulate the amount of memory strands on an item.
Ja pierdolę.
The Orb of Remembrance will let you add memory strands to any normal equipment. So if you have your perfect base to craft on, and it doesn't already have memory strands, you can add some before crafting it. The Orb of Unraveling will consume all remaining memory strands on an item to randomly upgrade its mod tiers.
O, to jest chyba fajne.
This orb's effectiveness is based on the number of memory strands it consumes. The Orb of
No
Intention
jak
can
dziwki,
be
kurwa,
used on
żrała
memory
epocha.
influence maps to reduce item drops, but improve the chance to find items with memory strands.
Dziwne.
In the process of adding these new currency items, we realized something was missing. The Shaper and the Elder did not have their own Exalted Orbs. This has now been
O
rectified.
kurwa.
Both bosses now
to już
have Exalted
pokazywali.
Orbs, which can add their influence to an item.
W końcu.
Zana was there from the beginning, when the Shaper Pinnacle fight was first added.
Oj.
She helped
nie
defeat the
specyficznie.
Elder, and she was a critical part of the Conqueror's storyline. Now, with all 6 influence types having their own Exalted Orbs, the cycle is complete. It's almost as if we could now do some sort of new, epic, unique item to interact with them.
Ja pierdolę.
Oho.
In other
Chase
news,
unique?
there of course has to be Atlas passive tree support for this new endgame content. Let's take a look at a few things we're adding. The Grasp the Past notable passive skill increases the chance for the amount of memory strands on items dropped in your memory influence maps to be lucky. This means it will roll the number of memory strands twice, keeping the highest value. By allocating
Jezu
traumatic
Chryste, to
experience,
jest
remembered
zerknięte z
kindness,
poetwa.
or educated upbringing, you'll decrease the chance of finding memory threads that lead to specific bosses, meaning you'll have better chances at finding the memory threads you would like to run. This is especially useful if you
Pewnie
want to target
przesunęli.
farm a specific boss because of its unique item drops. In sum, the secrets of the Atlas will have you questioning what is real as you attempt to free Zana from warped memories scattered throughout the Atlas. You'll fight new Guardian and Pinnacle bosses tormenting her, find crazy new Pinnacle uniques,
Kurwa, widzisz co się dzieje na
combine
ekranie z
and
tym
unleash
z tym
memory
bossem?
petal empowered skills, juice
Nic
maps
takiego
to
w sumie.
new heights, and
No,
craft
rzucał te
powerful
kulki,
new
kurwa, po
items.
całej arenie. O, zajebiście, teraz to też
While we were
wyglądało
showing
dobre.
all the juicy rewards from the new endgame system,
Gold.
you might have noticed that a lot of gold was dropping. Let's talk about that. Gold was introduced during the Settlers of Kalgur expansion.
Czemu to jest w
It
core?
funded the development and operations of King's March, along with
King's
various
March
new
masz od razu
features such as the
rozwinięty
currency
do fulla.
exchange, the black market, and the passive respec system with Faustus.
Okej, to
Those
jest good,
features
to jest
offered
good.
by Faustus will be here to stay, along with some of the other services King's March has to offer. We'll get more into that later, but don't worry. King's March has already been completed. There will be no more town building.
Chociaż kurwa to.
Like before, gold will be used for town services, but we're also adding a new way to use it in the upcoming league.
Aha.
It's time to talk about
To
mercenaries
jest, to
of
jest
Crofts.
najciekawsze w sumie, bo te
In
mechanika
this
ligowe są
league, you will
pizdy.
meet veterans who have traveled all the way from the lawless cities of Trathus. They're ready to offer their sinister services.
No
but
właśnie
not
w tym
for free.
problem. To rozwinięcie
You will
endgame'u
encounter
wygląda jak
these
bardziej
mercenaries as you
wkurwiający
journey
kurwa
through
Einhard.
Rayclast,
Robienie
one in
memorek.
each area. They have
Nienawidzę
their own
tego.
personalities and come with different builds, skills, and items already equipped. After meeting them, as per the Trathan code, they will challenge you to a duel, a test of strength and conviction. Before beginning the duel, you will be offered an overview of the mercenary you've encountered. Here, you can see the gear they have equipped, the skills they employ, and any support effects augmenting those skills. You must now make a choice. You can hire their services, take one of their items, or exile them. If you
No,
choose to hire them,
Nemezis
for
kurwa
a
bez
gold
jaj.
cost, they will accompany you as a skilled combatant to assist you in fighting monsters throughout Reakcja. Once you've decided, you can begin the duel. This is a great opportunity to test them, as you don't want to be out of pocket with a useless rookie. However, they're testing you too. They also don't want to be working for an amateur. So, what items might they be using? Generally speaking, mercenary gear is more powerful than what you'd normally find from defeating monsters,
Zajebiście, kurwa.
as they've been crafting their items too. They can also come equipped with unique items, those that would make sense for the skills they are using. There are even some new unique items that can only be obtained from defeating them. One such unique is Scornflux. These boots combine agility with the mastery of the arcane.
Ja
While
pierdolę.
equipped, increases to cast
Ja
speed from Arcane Surge also apply
Ja
to movement speed,
pierdolę.
which is worth noting is now 20% inherently from Arcane Surge, up from 10. They also grant Arcane Surge when you use a movement skill. This allows for some speedy spellcasters. Sometimes you may meet particularly
nie mówię
infamous
do
Trathan
ciebie.
mercenaries, bearing the name of their house. These mercenaries descend from the 4 major death trade families in Trathis. They are less common, but have far better items. And they are also the sole source of items with new, infamous modifiers, unseen before in Reakcja, such as these gloves, which convert all of your minions' fire damage to chaos damage. Or this helmet, which causes nearby
That's
enemies to
interesting.
take more physical damage as you gain more fortification. If you're not swayed by any of their equipped gear, however,
Nie
you can
pamiętam, ale
always
dużo
challenge
na,
them for the
na
contents
przykład
of
w
their
tym
pockets.
besie.
If you lose the duel,
A
don't
może sobie
worry.
wybrać
You
item,
don't
jaki
need to
chcesz
give them an
odłożyć?
item. You aren't bound to Trathan tradition like they are. However, you are bound to Reakcja tradition, so you'll just die.
Almost at me. Well, not really.
While playing in a party, each player can decide whether or not they want to participate in combat against the mercenary. For each player that opts in, the mercenary gets more difficult. But if they're defeated, each player has a 50% chance to get a random reward, which is usually currency items from the mercenary's pouch.
No okej. Tak sobie. Group play trochę. podbili.
Alternatively,
Jakiś obesowy.
party members that opt out of the fight can spectate and cheer you on. Or they might wish for your demise, so they can pick up that allocated divine waiting off screen.
Dead. Good.
Anti-Vine. Cudowne.
Let's say you won the duel, like their items, and have decided to hire them. What combat skills do they bring to the table?
No dawaj.
Each mercenary has an archetype. Here, this mercenary is an eruptor, which perfectly couples with my slower, more aura-focused scion. This mercenary is highly aggressive, and will get a lot of
Czy można
benefit from the
prawie
auras
zrobić
and
sobie
buffs
aurę
they provide.
chodzącą?
Nie, odwrotnie. Ty jesteś
When I'm
aurą.
playing a more aggressive
Aha.
character myself though, I'll want a mercenary with a
Solo
bit more
play aura,
resilience
bot
and
bez jaj,
utility.
kurwa.
I've just run into a striker.
No
who
tak,
can
ale to można
spawn
z
with
ziomkiem.
Vigilant Strike. And if you're lucky, a very rare golden support that causes the fortify granted by his Vigilant Strike to apply to me as well. He will also frequently use Enduring Cry, taunting enemies off of me and operating as a tanky frontline while I blitz off damage from the back. Sometimes when you fight a
Śmieszne.
mercenary, you may notice the skills they're using are different from normal. For example, this sniper is using a Trathan version of Siege Ballista. If you're lucky, you will be able to select that as your reward when challenging them. Then defeat them, and they'll drop the
Oh.
Trathan gem as promised.
O,
You can only have one mercenary accompanying you at a time, but up to 3 total in your service. The other 2 will wait patiently in town. Having
ciekawe,
varied
to
options is
podoba
useful,
mi się.
as there may be situations where you need specific backup, like a difficult boss
Pytanie,
fight.
czy możesz zmieniać im itemy?
Any of your mercenaries
Nie,
you
bo
have
mają
active
kłódki.
O,
or
A
in
nie
your
można,
reserves
dobra.
can have their
Można.
equipment replaced with items of your choosing.
Okej.
They don't level up,
Yo.
so you will want to be looking out for more skilled and more powerful mercenaries as you advance through the campaign and endgame. If your mercenary falls in combat, you will need to return to town and spend some gold on healing supplies to get them back on their feet. Then perhaps consider giving them some upgrades, if you think it's deserved. I just wanted to clarify, mercenaries do not lose their equipment when defeated.
O Jezu, pięknie.
Okej.
If your merc buddy consistently fails you, you can just dismiss them and find a new, more resilient ally.
Dobra, ale jeszcze jedna rzecz, bo on zakładał te itemy i tamte poprzednie znikały.
Tak.
Pytam jeszcze, jak ty założysz itemy i potem założysz kolejne itemy, to one znikną, czy wrócą do
Nie, bo
tego
tamte
ekwipunku?
miały
Earlier,
kłódkę
I
jakby na
mentioned you
sobie,
could
wiesz?
exile
Więc zgaduję, że po
mercenaries.
prostu ich się nie da
Aha,
wyjąć.
If you keep running
A
into a
te, które im
mercenary
włożył,
archetype
nie
and you
miały.
think, man, this guy stinks, their gear is trash and they have no auras, you can then choose to exile them. If you win the duel, they'll be forced to leave with their tail between their legs, and you won't encounter that archetype again for a while.
No i co wtedy?
Nie zobaczysz
Now,
tego jakby typu
alongside these new Trathan
przez
arrivals,
9
we
enkanterów
shouldn't forget
jakby.
about the recent Calgurn
pisało.
ones too. As we mentioned earlier,
Dobra.
the Settlers update introduced gold-based respeccing of passive points. You can now do so by talking to a number of NPCs throughout Rayclast, starting with Bestil and Lionized Watch.
Okay,
Black
makes
market
sense.
item gambling, previously just available in Kingsmarch, is now available in each town at the same NPC.
O, fajnie.
This lets you buy randomly generated item bases for gold. Very useful if you're stuck for upgrades or searching for a specific unique. The currency exchange will be returning too. Starting from Lionized Watch in Act 6, you'll be able to find Faustus, who can help facilitate these trades. Now, after almost a year of building, Johan is finally satisfied with the upgrades made to the
Dziękuję,
town.
chociaż
And
tyle.
now its services can be
Finally.
used to their full effect.
Finally.
Kingsmarch is going core, but there will be no more town building.
Dziękuję.
As you start running maps in the endgame, you'll start to find different ore veins, which Calgurn workers can mine for you. The shipping mechanic invites you to send these ores and crops to Karui and Calgurn ports, and they'll return rewards in kind. By sending shipments, you'll receive different items, but by sending to Karui ports, you will also receive tattoos, which can be used on your passive tree to change what stats they grant. The Calgurn ports will be sending back rune grafts, which is a new passive tree mechanic that replaces the runesmithing service previously offered by the town. These are similar to tattoos, but instead of replacing stat nodes, they replace a passive tree mastery node.
Master?
To
For
fajne.
example, Runegraft of the Bound reduces bonuses gained from boots, but increases bonuses gained from gloves. Runegraft of the River has a chance to recover your life to full if you reach low life. And the Runegraft of Time, which has a chance for your cooldown skills to instantly recover from their cooldown, which I will note includes cooldowns on your triggers, just in case you wanted to trigger even more spells. There are many other rune grafts which cover a wide range of different builds and stats. Some are more common and others rarer. You can only use one of a given type at a time, but you can use them on any mastery on your passive tree, which can be particularly useful for off-class investment. Isla has continued to make modifications to the Recombinator. She has developed a new method of recombination that you may recognize from Path of Exile 2. For those
Ojej.
unfamiliar,
Ja
this method
pierdolę.
allows you to decide which modifiers on the two input items you want to try merge together,
Chuj ci w dupę,
and it has a
kurwa.
success chance you can see. This method can result in the items being destroyed. However, it is a good option to use when trying
Gdyby to
to
było
create
tier 1
items with
jedyny,
fewer
to byś
mods
miała
to use as
0,9%.
crafting projects. Given the existing recombinating mechanic was very powerful for top-end crafting, we didn't want to remove it. We have kept it, and you can now choose
No
to
to
use
co,
it the
trzeba
old
kupić
way
kolejne
or the new
stasztaby.
way. By letting fate decide, it will combine the two items randomly. There is no risk of destroying either item, but it will be less predictable. As Settlers is now a core mechanic, we've also added Atlas passive tree support. For example, if you
No.
wanted to gather more Verisium ore, you could take this
O,
notable.
fajnie, to mi się przyda
Each
bardzo.
ore has a similar
Bo
node.
potem już ciężko dostać w ogóle Crimson.
Refiner's Bargain converts items dropped by possessed monsters into thaumaturgic dust, sulfite into random ores, and life force into random crops. We've also added a set of Calgurn scarabs, so you can add more ore deposits, increase the rarity of monsters that guard ore deposits to at least magic, or gather smelted bars from ore you mark instead of ores. To sum it all up, Kingsmarch is now a thriving town where you can employ a swath of workers to collect resources, refine ores, craft items, and run maps for you. Send shipments of resources in exchange for
Czekaj,
tattoos and
co?
rune grafts, using those to
Co?
modify your passive tree to an extent never
Możesz
seen
mieć
before.
typa, który ci będzie craftował itemy?
Following on from that,
A nie
we've
wiem,
also
w
made a
sumie.
substantial rework to another important mechanic.
O, betrayal
Betrayal.
rewamp.
Oj, dawaj to.
As a refresher, and to explain to new players, let's briefly explain what betrayal is. Betrayal is a mechanic introduced in Act 9 and tells the story of Jun or Toy and her investigation of the Immortal Syndicate. This is a mysterious group of exiles who can seemingly come back from death. You must help Jun to uncover their leader, the Syndicate Mastermind. The Immortal Syndicate is organized into 4 divisions: transportation, fortification, research, and intervention. As you encounter the Immortal Syndicate members, you'll gain intelligence for each of these divisions to discover the location of their leaders,
Ja nie
tracking
wiem,
them to
czemu
their
ten
safe
typ gra na
houses.
screenshake'u, to jest posrane.
Defeating the division leaders at their safe houses will reward you with intelligence on the Syndicate Mastermind. In your journey to track down the Syndicate leader, you'll manipulate the members of the Immortal Syndicate to change divisions, form
Ona jest ola
friendships and
prosta,
rivalries,
jak zrozumiesz mniej więcej.
and even banish them from the Syndicate for a time.
Jakby dodali jakąś templatkę, żeby pokazywało...
Historically, after
kogo jest jaka
encountering and
nagroda,
defeating
czy
the
coś.
Syndicate Mastermind, the state of the Immortal Syndicate would reset, requiring you to start from the beginning of the investigation again. This has always been a difficult decision for players and can often feel bad. Do you
Jest,
fight the
widziałaś? W
Mastermind
prawym
for a
dolnym
chance at
rogu.
the special loot,
Betrayal help.
or keep farming the safe houses that you've spent so long setting up? Well,
Teraz tego nie ma.
in the
Wcześniej było na
secrets of the
przybitce.
Atlas expansion, we've split
Oh,
out the
medalion.
Mastermind to be completely separate from the core mechanic. The boss is now accessible through a new fragment that has a chance to drop from the safe house leaders at high
Da się to
levels.
sprzedać?
The Mastermind no longer resets
Pewnie
the
tak.
state of the Immortal Syndicate.
Jest Betrayal Help, w
You
końcu.
can now build your betrayal board to your liking, optimize it, do Mastermind fights, and reap the rewards without having to lose all your progress every time. The boss fight itself has also been improved, now with significantly fewer immunity phases and new rewards.
Jezu, kocham cię.
By the way, if you're a new player to Path of Exile 1, don't worry about all this detail. This content is optional, and you can discover and engage with it at your own pace. The Mastermind still has a chance to drop a Veiled Orb,
Właśnie, teraz
now
będzie Exalt
renamed to
Veiled.
Veiled Exalted Orb. Veiled Chaos Orbs are being re-added to other safe house leaders. In addition, the Mastermind now drops the new All Flame Embers. All Flame Embers are map
Nie.
fragments that replace monster packs and in-game maps with different types of special monsters.
Ale mam
These
flashbacki z
packs have
Wietnamu,
unusual properties,
kurwa.
compositions, or rewards.
Ja pierdolę.
For example, you might use the All Flame Ember of Kulamak, which replaces packs with Syndicate monsters and their leaders, who revive
A mi
after
się
the
to
map
podoba
boss has been
akurat.
slain.
I po prostu mam
This
takie
might at first
flashbacki z
sound
Wietnamu,
annoying
z tej
due to
ligi, kurwa.
backtracking, but
Będzie
these monsters
żwaby.
when revived are far more intense and rewarding.
Rere, kum, kum, rere, kum,
Tak,
kum.
dokładnie tak. Rere, kum,
It
kum.
is our intention with All Flames to provide many different types that
A to
combine
będzie
with
działać
other
zamiast
mechanics,
skrawów,
multiplying
okej.
with your existing modifiers in new and interesting ways.
Mi się to podoba.
W sensie, tak.
Another good example of this is the All Flame Ember of Propagation. When slain, special rare monsters added by this All Flame here will spread their modifiers to other rare monsters in the map. This can be useful when trying to create singular, very powerful,
Tak, znowu
and very
Fabian zepsuje
rewarding
ligę bez
monsters.
jaj.
Something akin to meat sacks, which are making a reinvented
Ty, co
comeback
to
with
jest?
this update too.
To jest film.
Na tier 17 to będzie posrany jak
Another
ten.
is the All Flame Ember of Resplendence,
No?
which adds monsters that drop no items. But when you slay them, you get buff stacks of increased quantity and rarity to
skilla
enhance
to
the
jest.
drops of all
Pierdalaj,
other
kurwa,
monsters.
z tym. No to jest quantity.
All Flame Embers can be placed in your map device like scarabs, and used in conjunction
Tylko
with
nie można
scarabs
być
to
na
further
itemach.
customize your maps.
Nie,
We're looking forward to
wypierdalaj mi z
seeing
tym
which
quantem.
combinations players find to enhance their maps. Perhaps you'll use all scarabs, all flames, or maybe mix and match. It's up to you. The Mastermind's unique items have also been improved. The veiled modifiers generated on these items are now from a custom pool exclusive to those uniques. Bitter Bind
Okay.
Point, for example, can now have various Spectre-specific outcomes, such as +1 additional Spectre. Aside from
Czyli
improved
failowanie
rewards from
będzie
the
bardziej
Mastermind,
useful.
all the safe house rewards have also been rebalanced. We've done a pass on the crafting sprees at the end of many safe houses. For those who aren't aware how these crafting sprees work, well, it's simple. There's a crafting bench with an item in it and a bunch of currency.
O,
There's a limited
akurat
amount
to
of
jest gówno.
time, and your only objective is to craft the best item possible before the time ends. One of the problems that the crafting sprees have is that they often require you to have specific items on hand in order to best maximize your result. But how are you supposed to know that beforehand? In order to solve this, most of the crafting sprees now offer pre-generated items. This has also allowed us to add much more powerful crafting options in each spree. Let's take a look at a few examples. In this spree, a randomly generated amulet or ring will be waiting for you. Test your crafting skill or luck with this reflecting mist crafting spree and see if you can create something worthy of Kalandra's
O
praise.
Jezu.
No, reflection mist.
And
No,
in
mu nie
this spree, you
siadło
will
F.
find a pre-generated unique item
Ja nie mam
and a
crafting
new
skill,
kind of
jak
orb
większość
that
z nas, ale
resembles a
spokojnie.
Val orb, but not
Co to
quite the
jest?
same.
Jean touched
Normally,
fire?
you can only corrupt an item once, but uniques in this spree can be corrupted and re-corrupted as many times as there are orbs. This orb also allows you to
to
get
fajne,
2
mi się
corrupted
podoba.
implicits and has a much lower chance to brick the item. It can be a very useful tool for seeking specific
O ja
corrupted implicit
pierdolę.
outcomes. Of course, if you push your luck,
No.
you can still ruin the item.
13 czerwca.
Nie, nie,
There
musisz
are also
najpierw
crafting
dostać
sprees
tam
where you
Mage
still
Blada.
need to provide an
Najpierw
item,
musi ten
but
dostać
those
mieć blada
items
bez
are
jej.
generally more accessible and it occurs less frequently. This one allows you to bring your own normal rarity item. Then just go ballistic
O
with
ja
a whole ton
pierdolę.
of scouring orbs and orbs of chance,
Mage Blada
hoping to get your
chance.
ideal unique.
No nie.
For most sprees, the rank of the syndicate member increases the amount of currency provided, the quality of the pre-generated items, and the time allowed to craft your item. Aside from the crafting sprees, there are other new options too. If you love gambling for currency,
Oj tak.
how about you try opening Varici's Emperor's Luck chests?
O, luck
These work
chest,
just
Jezu,
like the Emperor's
tak.
Luck divination card and provide full stacks of currency. If you're lucky enough, unlike me, you could end up with a whole lot of divines.
Halo? O, dobra.
Betrayal is a good source of veiled items. Veiled items have some important quality of life improvements in this expansion too. All of the crafting bench options normally granted by unveiling items are instead now moved to the core game, so you don't need to run Betrayal to unlock them. They are instead found at the entrances to boss rooms and in-game maps. On top of that, you no longer need to speak to Jun to unveil items. You can just right-click them,
No i
or the
świetnie.
equivalent on
Jezus,
gamepad,
tak.
and select
Tak,
which veiled
pięknie.
modifier you want to unveil. Overall, Betrayal is now much more streamlined and more rewarding. Happy interrogations.
Shut up!
Dokładnie tak, Ola.
Now, before we get into
Aha,
our quality
dawaj
of life
Łosiek.
additions,
Dawaj,
let's quickly
Łosiek.
talk about some character balance.
Lecimy.
Co?
We
Charakter
will be
balans.
doing our regular character balance changes, where we are bringing outliers in line to help
Będzie
evolve
dobrze,
the meta,
prawda?
but we are also focusing our attention on buffing some
Proszę, buff
specific
assassin,
things.
buff assassin.
This
Nie
includes
pewno nie.
spellcasting supports that specifically enhance self-casting builds, channeled spells, adding new options to the
Self-cast
Guardian, Berserker, Elementalist, Saboteur, and Champion Ascendancy
jaja
classes,
robić.
which include some favorites from some of the alternate classes from Legacy of Freesia, and
Nimis?
buffing a whole bunch of transfigured gems that never really hit
Sabotażysta
the
będzie
mark.
mieć nimis?
Combined with the new endgame crafting, improved betrayal crafting options, rune graphs for your passive tree, new pinnacle unique items, new modifiers and Trathan gems from the mercenaries, and of course the mercenaries themselves to act as an extension to your character, it's safe to say there's a lot of new character options and builds to think about. Instead of delving into all of these in more detail, we figured we'd just let you absorb them through the patch notes so you can do it at your own pace. In the Secrets of the Atlas expansion,
superancko.
we've also added a lot of the quality of life features
Czy w końcu
that we know
saboter
you've
będzie
all been asking
useful?
for.
No way.
A lot of these have already been
Kto chciał
posted,
sabotera
but
buffa?
let's take a look
Infrit.
now in case you missed any.
Udało się.
You can now pause the game at any time by pressing escape to open the menu, or by opening any full screen interface, like the passive tree.
To jest jedyna
You'll
dobra
also be
zmiana z
paused if
PoE2.
any lag is detected, or if you disconnect. It's worth noting that in certain Pinnacle arenas, a debuff will be applied to you that prevents you from pausing.
Okej,
We're also
dobra.
making a
sensie
change to
debuffa
how
na
you use currency
pauzowanie.
items on strongboxes and monsters imprisoned in essences.
Debuff na pauzowanie
Based on the
gry.
currency in your inventory and the state of the strongbox, these buttons will appear. Valuable currency like divine orbs have been excluded from this as it would often be wasteful to use in this context. The same applies to essences, with the remnant of
To jest
corruption
piękne
currency.
To z
akurat.
remnantem.
Orbs of
To z
Horizon have been
remnantem,
updated.
ojej.
No, to jest
They
taki
can now
orgazm.
reroll your Elder and Conqueror Guardian maps.
To też jest fajne, no.
Doing so
W
will
końcu.
reroll the base map and the guardian of that map. The map device now has
To
a
jest
small
tak kurwa
additional inventory.
cudowne.
This is particularly useful if you're rolling many maps to run
To
in
jest orgazm
series,
kolejny.
or if you want to use varying amounts of scarabs or other map fragments.
Tak,
During
i nie
breach
musisz
encounters,
ten,
all
mieć
the
tego wyku
splinters will be
piękne.
automatically collected and dropped at the end of the breach. On gamepads, we have separated the targeting
dziękujemy.
of monsters and non-monsters, so you are able to target
O,
them
to nikogo nie
independently.
obchodzi nawet.
This removes a bunch
Tak,
of frustration when
dokładnie.
you're trying to interact with
To
objects
nikogo
in
nie
the world
obchodzi.
and monsters are nearby. You no longer have to kill all of them first. Vendor windows will now
To też
remember
jest
your last
zajebiste.
search. This is remembered until you
To jest
log out
piękne.
and is remembered on a per NPC basis.
Kocham to.
The
że
amount
się
of
reggae
characters you can
zapisuje.
type in the search field has also been increased. When using currency items, after right-clicking them, it will highlight all other items which that currency can be used on. There are many other quality
Jak
of life
mapy
improvements,
rolowałeś, to
so
ciężko
keep an
było
eye on the patch
zobaczyć.
notes after
Trzeba
this
było
live
w
stream
regex
concludes.
pisać.
Q&A
Dobra, to
with
już nas
Ziggy
nie
D.
obchodzi.
Afterwards,
Ale zostawiamy na
No,
dropa.
dokładnie.
Pojebana akcja.